To me is you jump from building to building.
Yeah.
I don't think I could make the first jump.
Well,
I mean, I
if you're
don't imagine I
Spider-Man
could do
and
that.
you can spin webs, maybe you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not Spider-Man.
Peter Parker.
And
okay.
I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. Hardcore. Please, take a hike. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Rory McIlroy looks to the future. The Warriors fall into the play-in, and the Suns fire Coach Boo. But we begin today with Rory McIlroy winning the Masters, becoming only the sixth golfer ever to win all four majors. Rory won on the first hole of a sudden death playoff with Justin Rose by birdieing the hole he had just bogeyed to end up at a playoff to begin with. This was the wildest golf tournament I'd ever seen, and like you, Mike, I watched every single shot of it. So, Wilbon, what are your thoughts about what Rory accomplished and how he did it?
Well, Tony, to me, it's going to be memorable in ways that very few events are memorable. And sometimes it's not all good. I mean, you remember the Frenchman, Jean Van der Velde, who made a mess of the British Open and wound up rolling up his pants and getting in the way. You have visuals, right? You got great shots, you got bad shots, you got situations that don't make sense for professionals to be in. And in the case of Rory, these beautiful shots with draw that are a million feet high that land softly and roll perfectly to within tap-in range, except, oops, he doesn't actually tap it in often enough to have this drama. So it's the visuals of the drama I'm going to remember. I don't know that 10 years from now I'm going to remember that he made the birdie putt after he missed the eagle tap in, or I don't know that it's going to be the specifics. Yeah. But the up and down nature of it, taking us with him. You were so disgusted at one point yesterday. I thought you were going to have to just lay down and go to sleep. You sounded exhausted as we talked about this thing all day.
Yeah, it was agonizing. I mean, for me to just watch, because I will say that I rooted for Rory. I did root for Rory even before the thing began, and I know you did as well. So I'm going to start with the big picture here before we get into granular shots. And the big picture is that Rory was great and Rory was awful. And because Rory won, the awful is going to go away. Yeah. And it's going to be a redemption story. But, Mike, I believe I believe by winning this thing, he salvaged the rest of his career.
Yes.
I think if he had lost this, I would have joined a lot of people in basically saying, Rory, get out of golf and open up a driving range, because that's what you're good at now, because this isn't working. This is the greatest achievement of his career, and he choked like a dog many times in it. When the tournament begins on Thursday, he doubles 15, he doubles 17. It's gagapotamus. On Saturday, he opens up on 1 and 2, 3-3. Birdie eagle. He takes the lead. On Sunday, the same two holes, Mike. He goes 6-5, and he loses the lead. He made great shots. This is to your point. He made some great shots on 15. He made a great shot on 16. But he didn't get the putts that would have iced it. He did not get the putts that would have iced it. And he made terrible shots, inexcusably terrible shots on 13.
Shots that you and I might
on
execute.
13.
Yeah.
Yes, he put it in the water. On 18, he put it in the sand. We would have done that. And he puts himself, and then on 18 again on the redo, on the first playoff hole, he puts it to 2 feet. And as I told you this morning, Mike, I was afraid he'd miss it. I was afraid he would miss that putt.
By then, I thought the story was written, and he had to make it. If he misses there, I might have had to turn the TV off, too, because part of it was painful to watch. And I'm just glad he did, because Rory seems like such a decent fellow. Whether you agree with a stance or not here and there, he's out front, he's honest, he's candid, he wears his emotions. He doesn't hold back. Mike, he doesn't seem passive-aggressive. I just like Rory McIlroy. I just like him.
He went down on the ground when he won, and he wept. Yeah. He didn't just get teary-eyed. He wept. Look, he was the main actor for 4 days. The other people were supporting actors like Scheffler and Oberg and Justin Rose and DeChambeau. This was Rory's stage. And I felt that this was sports at its greatest. Yeah. And I felt it ended the right way. I did. I loved it.
That's why he had to make the putt. Okay, let's make the putt, and then let's move from what Rory has now accomplished to what lies ahead. Next month's PGA Championship is at Quail Hollow, a course on which Rory has won 4 times already. the U.S. Open is at Oakmont, and you know it demands quality off the tee, but that's Rory's strength. Yeah. And the British Open is at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland, where Mr. McIlroy set the course record of 61 when he was 16. So, Tony, does this Masters win alter your expectations for Rory going forward?
So let me just set the scene first. Rory is now a golf immortal. He has joined Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, and Gene Sarazen as the only people ever to win all 4 majors. Arnold Palmer didn't win all 4, and he's one of the greatest players of all time. So Rory doesn't have to win anymore. He's already on the big wall. Having said that, I think he's going to win multiple majors. He reminds me now of where Phil Mickelson was when Phil Mickelson at age 33 won his first major, a Masters, and then won 5 after that. Rory's 35. They're in the same basic age bracket. Mike, I think he's going to win 2 more Masters because that's the tournament where older guys win it because it's a smaller field and they can keep up with it. Quail Hollow on the tour all the time, won there 4 times, has 9 top 10s. Oakmont, no trees, bomb it, and he can do that. Royal Portrush, they had an Open there. He didn't even make the cut. Terribly embarrassing, I think, and made him feel terrible. But if the demons are gone, Mike, I think, honestly, that he can win some of these. I think he can win some more majors. Now, look, Oberg is there, and Hovland is there, and Scheffler is there, and Schauffele is there. But Rory's not ancient. Rory, in the 10 or 11 years where he didn't win a major, Rory was competitive. It's not like Jordan Spieth or Dustin Johnson where you say, where are they? So, yeah, I think he can win multiple.
I think he'll win a lot. I'm going to go back to 2000 in Chicago, Tony, when Tiger Woods, coming off having won 1 major in 97, actually it was in 99 at Medina.
99,
I was covering 99. I'm covering my first major championship for the Washington Post as a columnist. And I was a little nervous about what I was going to say. And I called the sage mentor, an Anthony Kornheiser, who was probably napping at home earlier because Tiger, he beat Sergio that day, but then it was over. And what I wanted to write, because what I felt was Tiger's going to go crazy now. This frees him. Winning the one that took off the pressure, which was the second one, freed up Tiger. And he wound up winning 6 of the next 12 major championships. Yeah. So I got that one right, and I feel I'm going to get this one right. I feel Rory is now freed, and there's no pressure because he's got this career thing done.
That's the right word.
And he is going to go wild, and he may win, 4 of the next 10. I just think his game is that good. And when you hear people say he's the best of our generation, they say it with admiration. Now he can go for it, and I think he will.
There is a certain amount of limit. I mean, he'll be competitive into his early 40s, but that's 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah,
he's got some time. He can win him. He can win him. We move on. The NBA entered the final day of the regular season with all sorts of balls up in the air. Now some have settled in. Denver will be 4th in the West with a new coach and lots of scrutiny. Golden State lost the opportunity to be 6th. They will have to negotiate the play-in. The Clippers continued their hot streak, landed in 5th. So, Wilbon, what's your big takeaway from Sunday's results?
Wow. Tony, I've got 2, and they came from the same game. I texted you about 1 million times yesterday. Yes, I was watching Rory on a big screen, a slightly smaller screen. I was watching the Warriors and Clippers. And that's where my takeaway comes from. Actually, 2 of them. 1, we got to slow our roll on the Warriors, who I love and root for it. I mean, Jimmy Butler and Steph and Draymond, I root for them. I'm not going to, Steve Kerr, I do. But they've lost 3 out of at least 5, maybe 3 out of 4, after they beat the Lakers in L.A., They lost these games at home. They couldn't beat San Antonio at home. And yesterday, they couldn't stop the Clippers. They couldn't stop. And that leads me into the second part of this is, oh, my God, the Clippers look great. What are they now, like 16-2 lately? When Kawhi Leonard, Tony, is not dragging his leg, and this is the first time I haven't seen him drag it since 2019, and he dragged it then in the postseason too. They're really, really, really good and potentially great because you got Harden in a secondary role. You got Kawhi Leonard, who has led 2 franchises to championships. You got T. Lue, a coach. You've got Zubac, Big Zubac, who is now one of the best defensive players in the league. So my takeaways are, wait a minute on Golden State and let's go. Let's pay attention to the Clippers.
Yeah, I know that you don't like the fact that Golden State is in a play-in game. I don't find the play-in game as onerous as you do. I find it something that you actually build momentum for the real playoffs. Jimmy Butler, when he was on Miami, took a team from the play-in all the way to the NBA Finals.
Good point.
The Lakers a couple of years ago went from the play-in to the conference finals. So Golden State has to basically win one game at home, and I don't think that's insurmountable. That's not my biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway is this. I am so glad that the Warriors did not finish sixth and have to play the Lakers in the first round.
Me too.
Because I don't want to see either LeBron James or Steph Curry have to leave the playoffs at the hand of the other in the first round. Because I want to root sentimentally for a couple of rounds for somebody. I don't care about Oklahoma City now. There's plenty of time to care about Oklahoma City. The playoffs are April, May, and June. Look, I want to see Boston and Cleveland. That's 3 months down the road. So just let me keep alive the hope that either Curry or LeBron is going to get to the final.
Well, you're in good shape. You're in good shape, but you got to make sure the Warriors actually beat Memphis. Huh? They look a little old and creaky yesterday. I'm worried about them.
They'll beat them at home. They'll beat them.
Right.
It's time to validate the viewers in mail time. Let me see what's first here as I go to my glasses. Here we go. Are the Sixers right to run it back next season?
Tony, yes, but with this caveat. Look, they have their draft pick for the moment. And they got to finish top five. Otherwise, it goes away. I think it goes to Oklahoma City. But let's just say they win the lottery. All right, and you're seeing Paul George, you're seeing, guys who are injured. Maxey was hurt, of course. The franchise player has been hurt for a long time. But Tony, if they wind up with Cooper Flag, if the commissioner says them with the first pick, the Philadelphia 76ers select, and that's entirely possible, they got like a 10% chance. Tony, who wouldn't you put Cooper Flag on that team if they're healthy? I know. That, and I want Nick Nurse back. I do. I want to see it one more time. Call me crazy. I'll take it. I'll live with the result. But I want to see what happens with the lottery and the pick. And so far, I'd say yes.
I'm going to take an entirely different position. I know you are. And I'm going to start by saying the Sixers are a clown show. They've been a clown show since they started trusting the process. Look at some of the draft picks they've made. Nerlens Noel and Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz. Yes, they got Embiid in the draft, and Embiid is a terrific player, except he doesn't actually ever play because he's always hurt. And Daryl Morey, I don't know what med school he went to, but he is convinced now that this is the greatest thing that ever happened to Embiid, and he will never be hurt again. I don't necessarily trust that. Paul George is a disaster. He's hurt all the time. He's going to be 35 in a couple of weeks. He's done. So their big three is one guy. It's Tyrese Maxey and two guys who don't actually play. So you can run it back and finish sixth. That's fine. You're pie in the sky about Cooper Flag. That's great. Everybody should believe that. But it's a long shot, Mike. It's a long shot.
Everything's a long shot. Everything.
Last one.
Rory making that putt was a long shot.
Not everything. Not everything. Will the NHL playoffs be diminished to you without any of the American original six teams?
Tony, this is near and dear to me because the Blackhawks haven't been in for a while. They haven't won a series in like 10 years since they won their third cup in 5 years. And they're not in it, and the Red Wings are not in it again. And so when you have no Rangers, no Red Wings, no Blackhawks, but you do have Ovi and no Boston, no Bruins, but you got Ovechkin.
You don't have the Bruins,
But you got Ovechkin, and you don't have Sidney Crosby either. Goodness, not that he's an original six guy because Pittsburgh isn't. They were expansion, but Tony, it's a lot of star power in terms of franchise jerseys, people whose fans watch no matter what come springtime, and that's what we are. I'm not going to say it's diminished because you got McDavid and you got Ovechkin and there's a sprinkling of stars. But if you lose those guys early, I will change and say diminished.
Yeah, I would not use the word diminished either. It's sort of quirky to me. I never really gave it any thought of the original American 16 and have that. I will say this. I'm very surprised that Detroit has been down for a while and hasn't been fixed. Because Detroit is a really important franchise. I'm surprised that Boston is sliding like this. They need to be fixed. The Rangers are rarely good. They were good last year, but they're not good this year. They have returned to type. And your team, the Blackhawks, I believe have missed 7 of the last 8 playoffs. So Connor Bedard by himself is not going to elevate that team. I will tell you, Mike, my sense of this is that I care more about Toronto and Montreal being in it, because to me they're the original 2.
And they haven't
because it's a Canadian sport. And so far they're in it. So I will probably root for them. But I don't feel it's diminished. I don't.
No, I don't.
All right.
But they're in the Rory position right now. They need to. It's been a while. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. Enough email. We'll take one last break still to come. What should the